At the beginning of the movie, it's said that some music is so powerful it draws in souls. In fact, this music has the power to pull souls from both the past and the future. But at the same time, it also attracts dark, evil spirits. The opening scene shows a wounded boy named Sammy entering a church, clutching a guitar in his hand. He's badly hurt, and the people inside the church are alarmed by his condition. The priest prays over him and urges him to give up music. He tells Sammy that if he leaves the music behind, the evil forces chasing him will also disappear. To understand what led Sammy to this point, the story flashes back to the previous day. Sammy is seen playing his guitar with a group of musicians, his band. They play blues music filled with deep emotional lyrics. The music is so soul-stirring that it doesn't just move people, it captivates spirits as well. Sammy's father disapproves of his passion for music. It turns out that his father is actually the same priest we saw earlier in the church. Next, we're introduced to two brothers, Smoke and Stack. They've recently come into a large sum of money, which they stole from a powerful gangster. But despite their wealth and influence, society still refuses to respect them because they are black. After arriving in the city, they buy a factory from a white man, paying a high price. Their plan is to transform it into a nightclub for their community. Since music is essential to their club, they visit the train station in search of talent. There, they hear Sammy and his band performing. Instantly drawn in by the sound, they invite the band to perform at their club. Smoke and Stack also recruit two Chinese restaurant owners to manage food and drinks for the club. Later, Smoke visits his wife. She practices widow magic, a kind of spiritual ritual, which is why he's been keeping his distance from her. When they reunite, they argue once again about the same old issue. His wife insists that it's because of her magic that men like him survived World War I. But Smoke responds bitterly. If her magic was so powerful, why couldn't it save their daughter? That remark leaves her speechless. Yet she notices that Smoke still wears the pendant she once gave him. She softly calls him Love. The scene cuts to a strange, injured man, clearly a victim of some terrible cruelty. He hides inside a couple's home. A group of vampire hunters soon arrive at the house, but the couple lies to protect him, saying no one has come in. After the hunters leave, the injured man attacks the boy in the house and drinks some of his blood. It's then revealed that the boy has also become a vampire. His wife screams in horror, and the scene ends there. Back with Smoke and Stack, we see their nightclub beautifully decorated, ready for its grand opening night. Smoke is firm and insists that no one enters without a ticket, or at least paying the minimum price. Stack, on the other hand, believes the club should be a sanctuary for their community. A place to unwind after a hard day, even if they can't afford much. On opening night, the club is a huge success. Crowds of people show up, Sammy begins performing, and the crowd becomes completely absorbed in his music. The music's power grows so strong that even spirits are drawn into the club. But not just spirits. 3 vampires also show up. One of them is the same vampire who earlier turned the couple into vampires. As vampires, they can't enter the nightclub without an invitation. When they ask for permission, Smoke refuses because a vampire is white, and white people had never accepted their community. Now Smoke was ready to get revenge. The vampire, trying to negotiate, said, "We've got plenty of money. I only came here because I was drawn to the music. And believe me, I'll take a lot more from this place." But Smoke stood firm. He wasn't letting them in. Frustrated, the 3 vampires walked out and began to sing outside the club. Meanwhile, inside, Mary, who had been raised alongside Smoke and Stack by the same mother, got into an argument with them. Angry and upset, she stormed out of the club and ended up near the vampires. The female vampire tried to talk her into helping them. "Just get us into the club," she said. "We'll pay in gold coins." But Mary sensed something wasn't right. The female vampire started drooling as she stared at her. And before Mary could react, the vampire attacked her, biting her and drinking her blood. Mary had now become a vampire too. As a vampire, Mary went back to the club. Since she hadn't been kicked out, she still had permission to enter. Once inside, she cozied up to Stack and then suddenly attacked him, drinking his blood and turning him into a vampire. Smoke saw it all happen. In a desperate attempt to save his brother, Smoke fired his gun at Mary, but she simply laughed it off. The bullets didn't affect her at all. Mary had been like a sister to Smoke. Seeing her like this tore him apart. He immediately shut down the nightclub. Just then, Smoke's wife arrived and explained everything. Mary's a vampire now. That's why your bullets didn't work. She knew this because of her deep belief and experience in voodoo magic. Outside, the club's security guard had gone to clear the area when he was attacked by one of the vampires and turned as well. Later, when he tried to re-enter the club, he had to ask for permission. Smoke's wife quickly realized the truth. "If he's asking for permission," she whispered, "he's already turned." The man tried to play it cool. "Come on, let me in. Just give me today's pay." As Smoke reached out to hand him the money, the guard lunged, trying to bite him, but Smoke shot him just in time. Inside the club, Stack, now a vampire, was regaining consciousness. Just as he was about to attack the crowd, Smoke's wife threw garlic juice on him. It burned him and stopped him in his tracks. To protect everyone, she took charge. "There are ways to fight these creatures," she said. "Use garlic, juice, powder, or cloves to keep them away. And if you want to kill them, silver or wooden weapons are the only way. And one more thing, don't ever invite anyone in. Vampires need permission to enter. Humans don't." She then passed out garlic to everyone in the club to confirm they were still human. Outside, the scene had turned grim. Smoke had sent everyone out of the club to keep them safe, but the vampires were waiting. They attacked the people as they came out, turning many into vampires. Those newly turned vampires went on to attack more, and soon, almost everyone outside had turned. The vampires were now throwing a party of their own, celebrating their growing numbers. They waited patiently, hoping the last humans inside the club would step out. Smoke's wife said, "We'll stay inside this building until morning. When the sun rises, they'll disappear. Vampires can't survive in sunlight." Later, the lead vampire came back to the door and spoke directly to Smoke and his friends. "Join us," he said. "It's the best decision you could make. Out here, there's no racism, no black or white, and best of all, there's no death." Another fascinating fact about the vampires in this story is that the memories of a newly turned vampire are also transferred to the vampire who turned them. So when one vampire turns someone, they gain their memories too. The vampire who first attacked the couple, well, that couple had actually planned to rob Smoke and Stack. They were targeting them because they couldn't stand the fact that black people were the wealthiest in the area. The vampire told them, "People like you can't handle our success anyway, so why not just become vampires? You'll never have to worry about being judged again." In the end, the vampires demanded, "If not all of you, then at least give us Sammy. His music, his blues, has the power to summon the souls of both the past and the present." At the same time, a Chinese woman who ran a nearby restaurant was threatened by the vampires. They warned her that if she didn't cooperate, they would go to her home and attack her daughter. Terrified but angry, she snapped out of her fear and vowed to fight back. But by then, the vampires had found a loophole. Someone had given them permission to enter the nightclub, and once they were inside, chaos erupted. The vampires attacked everyone. In that brutal attack, 3 major characters were killed. Smoke's wife, the woman who had stood up to the vampires, a member of Sammy's band, the one who had taught him the blues, and the Chinese woman. Among all the deaths, the most emotional one was Smoke's wife. Because Smoke was the one who had to kill her, Stack, Smoke's own brother, had attacked her and was turning her into a vampire. Before she could fully turn, Smoke drove a wooden stake through her heart. Meanwhile, Sammy and his partner tried to escape, but Remick, the original vampire, blocked their path. At the same time, a brutal fight broke out between Smoke and his brother Stack. Remick attacked Sammy and his partner. When Remick bit Sammy's partner, the partner urged him, "Leave me behind, save yourself." It wasn't easy to escape. All the vampires were closing in on Sammy. Desperate, he smashed his guitar over Remick's head. The guitar was laced with silver, and it burned Remick badly since all the other vampires were psychically connected to him. They all felt the pain, giving Sammy a narrow chance to escape. Just as Remick recovered and prepared to strike back, Smoke appeared and stabbed a wooden stake straight into Remick's chest. Remick's death sent shockwaves through the other vampires. At the same time, the sun began to rise. The new vampires, unaware they had to find shelter before dawn, were caught in the sunlight, and they burned to ashes. Smoke turned to Sammy and said, "Run now." He knew the gangsters whose money he'd stolen at the beginning of the story would eventually come for revenge. And they did. A large group came to capture Sammy. Smoke fought them off single-handedly, gunning them down. But he was hit multiple times in the process. Fatally wounded, he took his last breaths, his thoughts flashing to his wife and daughter. Then he died. Now we return to the opening scene of the movie. Sammy, holding his guitar, is in a church. Earlier, we saw his father, a priest, begging him to leave the music behind and devote himself to prayer. But Sammy didn't listen. Instead, he took his guitar and walked out. In the post-credits scene, we're shown the world 60 years later. And old Sammy still plays the blues,